And then later my ex-wife. She was also a UCSD graduate in physics. Now this was in the mid-'80s. The Bay Area was just, it was just overachiever fever. The whole, like, that mentality was just really intense, and in ground zero for it was Silicon Valley. I remember, this is before the internet, you'd look for jobs in the paper. I don't know if you guys still do. Sun Microsystems had an entire page ad. The front, in giant letters, it just said push. And then underneath it, it said, yourself harder than you ever dreamed possible, past all existing goals, up to the level of Sun Microsystems. And this scared me and disturbed me. I was looking at this and I thought, because I don't dream about pushing myself harder than I thought possible. I dream about like sitting on the beach in Hawaii with a beer or in a place out in the country. So I was kind of like looking at this guy, what do I do? And then I ended up getting this job at this place called Parallax. And I was, again, grateful for my job. I get there the first day, and it was like I was walking into this bizarre cult. It was a company of about 50 people, and everybody was already there when I got there. I got there 10 minutes early. It was my first day. And then I had no rapport with anybody. I couldn't relate to anybody. Nobody was sitting around just, having any idle conversation. And so by the time lunchtime came around, I actually left for, my deal was 8 to 6 with an hour for lunch. Well, nobody left for lunch except for me the first day. And then I was just counting the hours until 6 o'clock. And then 6 o'clock rolls around, everybody's still there. Like nobody's leaving. And 6:30, and then 7. And this guy, Hilden, who was just on me all day, like he comes over and goes, okay, now I'm gonna get you started on the RTs. And I was just, wanted to go home. And, at 7:30, I finally just made up an excuse that I had to pick up someone from the airport. And I went home, and then I realized, wow, this is just Monday. And I still have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then the next week, and then the rest of my life until I retire. And so I ended up calling in sick the following Monday, and then Tuesday, one of my many bosses, I had like 5 or 10 of them, I don't know, comes by and he goes, yeah. So you were sick yesterday, huh? I said, yeah, I was sick. Did you have a cold or something? And it turned into the most passive-aggressive conversation I've ever been in. And I lasted there about 2.5, 3 months. I probably called in sick 3 more Mondays after that. So anyway, after this, one more engineering job, and then I kind of figured I shouldn't be wasting these people's time. And I threw in the towel on that. I'd always been a musician, so I started doing that full time. And that, again, I wasn't a singer or songwriter, so my destiny wasn't in my control. It was in the control of whatever drunken hillbilly was running the band. I was in Dallas, toured around. This time I was married in Dallas, and it was around this time that I had a life-changing moment. Actually, kind of 2 life-changing moments. The first one was I had this premonition that I was going to get into a car wreck and the steering wheel was going to go through my testicles. And so then I did get in a car wreck. I was hit by a drunk driver, but I was okay down there. And this led me to talk my wife into having our first daughter immediately. And around the same time, the other big life-changing moment, I went to a animation festival, animation show, and there's still some of these. I'm sure some of you guys have been, like the Spike and Mike one and whatever. This one was called the Animation Celebration. It was playing in Dallas, and I'd been to all of these, and I'd always wanted to do animation and separately go into comedy. What was different here is there's a local guy in Dallas. This was films from all over the world who had, one of his shorts had made it into this festival, and he had his drawings and his cells on display in the lobby, and it's something about seeing those and just realizing, okay, there's a guy right here in my town doing this, and he's, there must be a camera you can rent time on, and just the reality of that all hit me all at once, like just a ton of bricks, and just suddenly, for the first time, I was motivated. I was a man on a mission, and you know, actually for the first time, I kind of understood that thing: push yourself harder than you ever thought possible. I was still a musician at the time, and I was, you know, musician hours. The earliest I would wake up would be noon, and anything earlier than that was just really tough. But I woke up the next morning at 8:30 just on my own, and from then on I just worked my butt off at it. I was just, I knew what I wanted to do. I was motivated. I went to the library, I got books on it, and I got a little Bolex, $200 Bolex camera, and just started animating. And it sounds kind of nerdy maybe and a little weird, but like I think this was probably the happiest I've ever been. The success that came later was really nice, but something about just toiling away and just doing those hundreds of drawings and being on a mission and knowing that there were these possibilities was and having something that motivated me after going through all these jobs that I didn't like was great. I also had you know, my wife at the time was not only supportive, but she had a job that she liked, and it was a good backstop. So I ended up, I finished this, the first short I finished was called Office Space, and it was about 2 minutes long, took me about 8 weeks to animate it. And so I had this thing, and you know, again, I have no connections in show business, so that's the part I always miss. When I'm watching somebody talk about how they made it on TV, there's always this big section missing of how do you break in, you know? And I didn't know how to. I actually was kind of embarrassed that I did this. I just called 411 and just said, MTV, please. And, I literally called Comedy Central, MTV, animation festivals, and that's the press. Follow me everywhere I go. I called these places, and you know, of course, you know, some of these receptionists are kind of mean, and it's their big opportunity to be mean to somebody. But I just, you know, I just kept asking for addresses, and I just mailed out like 12 VHS tapes, and within a week or two, I got calls from Comedy Central, a show called Kids in the Hall, a show called Night After Night with Alan Havey. I got the animation festivals, and it was just like, I couldn't believe it. And my first thought was, man, why didn't I do this when I was 19? I went and got a physics degree, I had all the jobs, but then as my career went on, I realized it's a really good thing I didn't do that, because I